Hello everyone and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today for our presentation. The topic we'll be exploring is sacrifice. This is the first slide, which is our cover slide, so I'd like to start by briefly introducing what we'll cover. We'll look into the importance of sacrifice, how it impacts our lives, and how understanding it can help us grow. I promise to keep it engaging and insightful, so let's get started. Now, let's talk about the act of sacrifice in this stage of Hajj. According to Hanafi scholars, after performing the necessary rites, the pilgrim should slaughter an animal and then shave their head or cut their hair short. It's important to note that the slaughtering actually comes before shaving or cutting because, in Islamic law, exiting ihram is linked to these actions. Both shaving and cutting are allowed, but shaving the entire head has more merit, especially since a hadith emphasizes it. If someone prefers, they can simply cut a small portion, like 1/4 of the head, or just trim hair to the length of a fingertip. The key point is that all these acts, aside from intercourse, become permissible after completing this step. Moving on to the Malaki perspective, they emphasize that if you have a sacrificial animal, you should perform the sacrifice first, then shave your head afterward. For men, if your hair isn't matted or plaited, you can shorten it instead of shaving entirely. However, if your hair is matted or braided, then shaving becomes necessary. The entire head should be shaved. Doing only part of it is not sufficient. It's considered incomplete. If someone has a condition that prevents shaving, then sacrificing an animal is the alternative. For women, the sunnah is to simply shorten their hair, which allows everything, permissible acts like intercourse and hunting, to become lawful again. Finally, if a pilgrim does not have a sacrificial animal with them, they are required to fast 3 days during Hajj, specifically between entering ihram and the day of Arafah. This fasting acts as a substitute for the sacrifice in this case. All these steps are interconnected, and understanding the sequence and the reasoning behind them helps us appreciate the spiritual significance of sacrifice and purification in Hajj. When you complete the stoning ritual, it is customary to perform a sacrifice, which can be a voluntary animal sacrifice, known as Hadi, driven to Hajj, or one that is due by reason of Hajj. After this, men are encouraged to shave their entire heads, which is considered the optimal way. However, if someone prefers, they can simply remove 3 hairs from their head, meaning from the scalp, not from the beard or mustache, or they can just shorten their hair. The best way to do this is by dipping a little less than 2 centimeters of all their hair. For women, the preferred practice is to shorten their hair in the same way, because shaving the head is considered offensive for women. While cutting hair, it's best to face the Qibla, the direction of prayer, and to say Allahu Akbar during the process. It's also recommended that the person shaving start from the right side, and afterward, bury the cut hair, which is a measure suggested for any parts separated from a living being. Importantly, cutting the hair is an essential part of completing the Hajj. Without it, the Hajj remains unfinished, and it cannot be compensated by simply slaughtering an animal. The person remains in ihram until the hair is cut. For those who have no hair, passing a razor over the head is recommended but not obligatory. This act symbolizes the end of certain restrictions and signifies the completion of the pilgrimage process, linking the physical act to the spiritual renewal we seek through Hajj. Now, let's talk about the concept of sacrifice in this context. According to Hanbali teachings, after completing certain rites, the individual should slaughter a sacrificial animal. This act symbolizes devotion and submission. For men, the next step is to shave their heads or at least cut their hair short. This haircut signifies a form of humility and renewal. Once these actions are completed, most things become lawful again, except for one important restriction. That restriction is intercourse, which remains prohibited until the entire process is fully completed. So, the key points here are the sacrifice through animal slaughter, the significance of shaving the head as a sign of humility, and understanding that, despite the relaxation of many restrictions, sexual relations are still not permitted until all rites are fulfilled. This step underscores the importance of discipline, obedience, and spiritual renewal within the broader framework of the ritual. Today, I want to highlight the concept of sacrifice in the context of Hajj and Umrah, as narrated by Aisha. May Allah be pleased with her. We set out together with Allah's messenger, letter FDFA, and some of us had already assumed the Ihram for Umrah, while others for Hajj, and some for both. In this journey, the Prophet, letter FDFA, himself assumed the Ihram specifically for Hajj. This distinction is important because it shows us how pilgrims had different intentions and preparations at the start. Now, an interesting point is that those who entered Ihram for Hajj, or for both Hajj and Umrah, didn't finish their Ihram until the day of An-Nar, which is the day of sacrifice, when the sacrifices are slaughtered. This highlights the significance of sacrifice as a key part of the Hajj rituals, symbolizing devotion and submission to Allah. So, in essence, the act of sacrifice isn't just an external obligation, but a deep spiritual act that marks the culmination of the pilgrimage journey. Connecting this to our overall theme, it reminds us that sacrifice in Hajj reflects our willingness to surrender our desires and show our devotion through following Allah's commands.